Hello, Whit. Nice to see you tonight.
So nice to see you here for our 200th episode of the Health Made Simple show.
Wow, 200 is pretty wild.
It is so exciting.
Yeah, I think when we started this journey, I never really thought about how long it goes or where does it keep going too. So recently when it came to my attention that we are about to do our 200th episode, I was like, wow, all right, that's a fair amount. That means roughly 4 years we've been doing this podcast.
Bart, how can that be?
Yeah, it's kind of it's been fun. It's interesting. I think when you have certain things going on in your life that they seem to fly like that, maybe it's because you're enjoying it and it's kind of timeless. So I've enjoyed the ride here, and it's been pretty cool. And tonight I'm gonna have another almost what the whole podcast and premise is all about. Trying to keep things simple. I'm going to dive into a very simple concepts tonight. I'm not going to say that I'm going to summarize 4 years of podcasting yet. Nonetheless, we're gonna again really keep it simple here tonight for all the listeners that are here tonight.
That sounds so rad, Bart. We are good to go on Facebook. We are good to go on Zoom. We got a whole crew of people here to be with us, so let's do it.
Beautiful. Welcome everyone back to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. Love having you here. This is officially our 200th episode. So, which means that we've been doing this now for a better part of 4 years, which is awesome. I want to start by thanking everyone who's been involved. Whit, you, of course, you've been with me on all these episodes. So beautiful. And thank you for being here. And then of course, our listeners. I get asked all the time, has the podcast, because inevitably people will say things like, how does the podcast benefit you? And I don't know that was ever even the intention. And maybe I should share with how that even happened. But nonetheless, to all of the listeners who have been able to take some of the information in, to digest a little bit, share with your friends, thank you. And I'm going to continue to encourage you whenever and however you can, whether it's in Spotify or Apple or iTunes, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, if you can give us a 5-star rating, beautiful. That helps give us kind of a better ranking. And then if you do have comments or questions or anything there, I promise you we're going to read them all. We're going to answer them all. So keep doing your thing. Love that you're here tonight.
It is so special to be here with our community, Bart, and we've got an awesome topic for tonight, and it is so cool to be able to gather together on this super special occasion. Bart, I don't know if you're aware of just how special it is for a podcast to get to episode 200. Do you have any idea how unique that this is?
I didn't until recently, and it was brought to my attention that it's not as common as people think. So I think on Spotify, there's about 2 million different podcasts. I think that's how many people have posted podcasts on Spotify, and maybe that's a couple different different avenues over there. And yet to get to the 200th episode, there's less than 2%, which is pretty fascinating.
Bart,
So
less than 2%.
yeah. So we feel good about it, and it's exciting. Does it take some hard work and effort and consistency? Absolutely. But that is exactly the message. Like that's what health really is. So I've enjoyed this. This has been a nice, I think, add-on to this point in my career and my opportunity to share back. I like to think of some of the wisdom that I'm creeping up on 30 years of being in practice in healthcare. And so as much as I possibly can, the goal is that I can share it. There's still this thing that goes on out there, and I'd like to say it's decreasing, but it's not. And that thing is that oftentimes I hear people say things like, well, doc, it's so confusing. How do I know what to eat? How do I know what exercise? What am I supposed to do? And who am I supposed to trust? And I understand it. And that originally is what kind of drove the idea or the kind of the intention behind having the Health Made Simple podcast. That I heard that question so frequently and so often that I said, wow, why don't I just do this? Why don't I just go make podcasts and simplify it? And that's because that's really what, as a practitioner, I do every day. I try to take these big lumps and big pieces of individuals' lives, their health, and narrow it down into a couple sentences or a couple of minutes while I have them in person in office. And I think over the years, I like to think that I've gotten a little better as I've matured into this position as a healthcare provider, and then be able to share that back here in this type of format. I'm absolutely I love doing this, and it's been a lot of fun along the way.
Well, it's definitely worth celebrating, Bart. So let me welcome you to the 2%.
Yes. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yes, and all of us here and friends, I've been working with Bart for a long time, and he is the representation of consistency. So, what a cool way to acknowledge your hard work and dedication to being in service and keeping health simple, Bart. Let me just say thank you from here, but I'll probably get a chance to say that a couple more times through.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you. And then everyone else who's been involved in helping us here. So it's, it always takes a bunch of people. I guess what they say, it takes a tribe or it takes a community or something like that. And there's no doubt about it that's true. So, and tonight again, my goal tonight is I want to share with you what I think is going to be the simplest ways to really know if you are healthy. That right there is a big question. So many of the listeners know I've been especially these last couple of years, I've been on a speaking tour. I'm speaking all around the country. I get an opportunity to speak to essentially two different types of groups. I teach doctors, essentially functional medicine and functional nutrition. And then I also, about 50% of the time, I'm out speaking as a keynote speaker, where I speak to, for the most part, it's just entrepreneurial groups. One of the questions that I ask all the time to the audience is are you healthy? Tonight, and that was very interesting. That question is big time interesting, and I'm going to share with you why in just a moment here. And this will model tonight's podcast after being able to answer that question for yourself. Are you healthy? How do you know if you're moving in the direction of health? I'm going to do everything I can, again, make that simple for us tonight.
I love that topic, Bart, because it's a doozy, and I know you're going to simplify it for us. So, are you ready to take a dive into episode 200?
Yeah, let's do a dive in. And then with that being said, let's dive in. First thing I'd like to do is share a couple of clinical insights.
Perfect.
And
Some clinical insights. Classic, Bart.
so, and if you're new to the show, of course, welcome. And the clinical insights are insights that I have while I'm in practice. I'm literally in the clinic, and I said, "Wow, man, this would be a good share for me to have with everyone," because I think everyone would be able to, at least most people would be able to relate to what's taking place right here. So I have two I want to share tonight. I think they're very fitting, and they literally fit right into the conversation that we're going to have here tonight. So the first one is a young man that recently joined us for our carnivore challenge. So recently we did a level up challenge. This time we did a carnivore style. We did it for 30 days, whole group of people. Probably some of them are listening right now. Welcome everyone. And we had a lot of fun. So much is learned when you do it in a group. So many nuances come up, so many of the same challenges, and then a lot of different victories. That's always an interesting part whenever you do like a group challenge like that. A lot of the same challenges and very different victories, meaning one person's victory might be, I've realized that I have an attachment to food and it's an emotional thing. Another person's victory might be that they lost a little bit of weight. Another person might be that they have less pain. So a lot of different victories in those types of journeys. So anyways, gentlemen joined us for the carnivore challenge. And I think part of his goal is to get back on track. And there was an expectation that he was going to lose weight. So in this situation, we basically set out and said, we're going to do this for 30 days as a group. I included myself and I went all in on this. And I think I'm going to do a podcast in the near future about my results and even share some of the lab work that I received. Anyways, so the gentleman that went through here, he near the end of it, he wasn't necessarily super excited. And he wasn't necessarily seeing the results that he was looking for, especially when it comes to just really feeling as good as he did in the past when we did the same challenge about a year ago and the weight loss. So in this situation, in our conversations, very simple conversation, I encouraged him to not limit his potential outcomes by timing it. I want to explain that a little bit better. We so frequently put a time limit on how long we're going to do something good. That is the crazy part. We'll do things that are bad forever. We'll drink alcohol. We'll put crap in our body. We'll eat ice cream every night and never put a limit on it. But when it comes to really hunkering down with our health, it's so interesting when we do, well, I'm going to eat clean food for blank days. I'm going to do a cleanse for 15 days, or I'm going to do carnivore. I'm going to do something, really good for my body for X amount of time. So I encourage them and say, listen, you saw the results, you just haven't gone far enough. Let's give your body an opportunity. And then he was all in, so it was fantastic. And the interesting thing, the moment he let off the clock, he started seeing the results. It was fascinating. Started losing weight, started feeling better, lost some inflammation, started moving better. So with that being said, the reason I'm sharing this particular one is Think of how many times you've put a time limit. You've boxed yourself into your health action, and it's just not fair. We have to give ourselves a little bit more grace. And maybe one of the most important things is giving ourselves more time. And I notice for myself too, is I wonder all the time, is the biggest limitation we have in health just the fact that we have time limits on everything? What if we had no time limit in terms of healing? What if we had no time limits in terms of losing weight? We said, yeah, I'm going to lose some weight, period. And we didn't give it a time. If we took away that time, would we take away a certain amount of stress that could be inhibiting us and that needing the attachment that we often apply that just really makes things really that much harder? So that particular situation, loved watching it, and it was almost like magic happening in front of my eyes from one visit to the next visit, to him surrendering, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this thing for me that is just really good, and I won't put a time limit on, to then all of a sudden having success. So for all of you out there that are doing good things, don't beat yourself up with this clock. Give yourself a little bit more grace, give yourself a little more opportunity to win. Think about the bad habits. It's weird, I know when I say it this way, but it's weird that we allow ourselves to have unlimited time when it comes to bad habits, but not necessarily to good habits. So flip that over, and I think you'll see a lot of success. The second one with that I want to share was really inspiring, and I shared it with you and the team this afternoon. And so there's this young lady that comes into the office, and to me, she's got a lot of heavy lifting going on. She's taking care of some young boys. She's taking care of her husband. She's got a lot of things going on. Really, quite frankly, makes, I think, most people's challenges look really trivial. And so she's just got a lot of things going on, and she is just up every day swinging for the fences, just doing what she can to work it out. And in her situation, she'd been losing a lot of weight. I mean, a lot of weight, 60, 70 pounds, and was not the intention. She's been sloughing off. Most of it's due to stress. So anyway, she has a lot of concerns, or has had a lot of concerns about losing too much weight. And as we've been going through this, she's, doc, what should I eat to put on weight, put on weight? And for anyone that's heard me before talk about people that might be thinning down, I would say, I don't care about the weight. It's always about the function. We want to measure our health through function, not necessarily through a scale. And if we are functioning good, we're going to end up at the right weight for ourselves. So anyways, she kept giving me kind of like, all right, I'm in on this, meaning, and what I really meant to her is, I want you to be able to get stronger. If you are strong and you have good endurance, you got flexibility and you got strength, you have these things, I don't care how much you weigh. If you're functioning good, you wake up and your mind is clear and your body's functioning well, awesome. You're going to end up at a weight that you're supposed to be at. Because who knows that she wasn't overweight prior. But now, of course, when you lose a lot of weight like that, it looks a little bit different, feels a little bit different. A lot of people are saying, is everything okay? You don't look so hot. Anyways, so we had this conversation. And then she asked me again, for this probably the second time in a row, 2 visits in a row. She said, Doc, what else can I do to gain weight? I said, well, are you doing anything to get stronger? And she said, no. She said, what can I do? And because we've been down this road before, I said, you know exactly what you can do. And she's like, what, push-ups? And I said, yes, push-ups. And she said, how many should I do? And I said, that's a great question. You should be able to do, and I gave her our formula. For anyone who wants to know the formula out there for your push-ups, you get on the ground, you do your 1 set max. If you're a female, you multiply that by 2 and then add 5. And that becomes your daily amount of push-ups. Gentlemen, you get on the ground, you do 1 set of push-ups, you multiply that by 2 and add 10. So for example, if you could do, ladies, if you can do 10 push-ups in a row, multiply it by 2, you got 20 push-ups, add 5, that's 25. So she's like, all right, I'm going to do this. I looked at her with that pause and then a little bit of grin, and she goes, oh my God, do you want me to do this right now? And I said, yes. So sure enough, in my adjusting room, anyone who's ever been there, it's a tiny little space. On the ground, she knocked out 10 push-ups. Killed it, literally killed it.
Heck yeah, I love the immediacy, taking action.
Yeah, and that way, that's the message I want to share with everyone. You know when the time to do things is? It's right now. It is absolutely right now. I was so inspired by her doing this. All right, that's the way you take life by the horns right there. That is it right there. You know what you need to do, and you just do it. You stop thinking, you stop talking, you stop planning, you stop strategizing. You just do, and which then just fits perfectly into part of the reason we're here, and I've created, we've created this Health Made Simple shows because I know that the medicine for everything is action. So watching her just like plug it in the day that we're about to do the 200th episode was just perfectly fitting. So literally a high five to that young lady, and she might even be listening today. So high five to her. I'm so inspired by watching her just do. And literally, she would have the excuse of just burying her head in the ground. And it wouldn't work, it wouldn't do anything. But if she needed excuses, she would have them. And the fact that she just literally got on the ground. Now, mind you, her young child is sitting there watching. That's the best part. A little young boy, maybe 9, 10 years old, I think, maybe a little older. Anyways, watching the whole thing take place was absolutely fantastic. So both of those little clinical insights, I think they're both actually about time. The time to do things is right here, right now. Folks, if you're listening and you are thinking about blank, oh, I'm going to cut back on my alcohol now. Oh, I'm going to clear out my cupboard now. I'm going to eat better now. I'm going to start exercising tonight. Those are the answers. And the moment you do it, so when she stood up, now granted, she was winded, she was red, and she was smiling with a little bit of tears in her eye because she just broke the ice. And so often, that's the part. We got to get the momentum running. And once it rolls, like I literally, it fired me up. I was like, wow, like she literally just did what was incredibly hard for her right in front of me, which was beautiful.
And we all have a different thing that's like that hard thing to just start doing. But the breaking of the ice, like you say, Bart, can launch you into incredible leaps and bounds forward, just taking that first step.
Yeah, momentum is everything. Momentum is literally everything. That's why I literally, I'll say it tonight probably 10 more times, but action is medicine. It really is. The moment we take the action, we're learning something. We're improving something. We feel something. And in that moment, that's when the change really starts to happen.
So beautiful, Bart. We are so lucky to be in this community with these wonderful people and be here with you tonight. We have got a pretty hot topic for tonight, Bart. Looks like we are going to be talking about some 3 important health strategies and how to keep things simple. Are you feeling ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to rock here. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's get started, Bart. So what are we talking about when we talk about 3 health strategies? Most important.
So the way we're going to break this down is keep it real simple. Again, so really about how you move, how you eat, and how you think. Back to the question that comes up earlier. So everyone listen to this. If I sat in front of you and I said, hey, listen, are you healthy? Every one of us has a little bit of different definition of what health is. Tonight, I want to dial it in because if we understand or have a common link, or you have a definition of what it means to be healthy, you can take action. You can start treating yourself today. So we're going to do that for how you move, how you eat, and how you think. So from this point forward, this is what I want you to think. Because literally, if I go and I'm speaking somewhere and I start asking audience participants and I say, hey, are you healthy? Some people might say, well, yeah, I'm pretty healthy here. I haven't been sick in a while. That's one person's definition. Another person might say, yeah, I'm healthy. Once I got on my blood pressure medications and my cholesterol medications, everything's balanced out, so I'm healthy as well. Another person might say, well, I get up at 5:30 a.m. and I go for a 3-mile run, and then I come back and make my green smoothie, and therefore I'm healthy. And then yet the next person might say something like, you know what, I'm not feeling good today. I have a head cold. I'm a little bit tired, and so I must not be healthy. All of those answers are kind of right, but they're not complete. And they don't necessarily drive any one particular action. So this is what we're going to do from this point forward. When we think about health, when you think about your own health, are you healthy? Are you acting in a way that would be healthy? It comes down to these 3 things. Are you optimizing how you move, how you eat, and how you think? And that's all you need to think. Are you improving the current status of how you move? And I'm gonna get detailed on that. We're gonna break how you move down into 3 different things. We're gonna break the eating down into, you're gonna know whether you're on a crap diet or real food diet. And then we're gonna do the thinking. It gets a little tricky there, but even that, we're gonna dial that in. So let's dive right into the moving part. When we think about optimizing how you move, 3 components: optimizing your range of motion, optimizing your strength, like that young lady did today, like literally getting down and optimizing, starting her push-up routine, or optimizing your endurance. So if you want to ask yourself these simple questions, are you stronger? Are you moving better than last year? Are you stronger than last year? Do you have more endurance than last year? These are really, really important topics. These are not ones we should overlook. Unfortunately, we're discovering more and more data, science, information, whatever you want to call it, that literally sitting is equal to, if not worse, than smoking. Yeah. And the data keeps coming out that our bodies, if we are not activating the human body, the skeletal muscles, the skeletal muscle system, if we are not using our bodies frequently, so not just an hour a day in the gym, but we're actually not being active at all, could be doing detrimental things to the human body. So making sure that we are literally getting stronger. So let's talk about getting stronger for a moment. I just mentioned the push-ups for a second. If we have, so we call that in aging, like if you want a diagnosis, and hopefully no one's ever gotten this diagnosed, but they call it sarcopenia. That is literally, as we get older, your muscles go away. So we lose muscle mass, we lose body mass because of we're getting older. And it's really not about an age thing, it's about activation. We now know this, that when we activate our body, you go for a walk, you go work in the garden, maybe you're working at your farm, you're picking up dogs, you're doing whatever, maybe you're in the gym, you're having a football toss with your son, but you're activating your body. If you're doing these things frequently, and I'm not talking about once a month or once a week, I'm talking about daily. That's what humans did. We used our body regularly. If you're doing this, your musculoskeletal system, your muscles are sending signals to your brain to activate your hormones. So we're sitting in a world right now where one of the biggest issues, especially if you're like 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, is hormone imbalances. And one of the bigger reasons is simply because our sedentary lifestyles have gotten way out of hand. And again, I'd like to tell you that going to the gym for a short period of time in your day is going to be sufficient enough. I don't think it is. I don't think the humans were designed to sit for 8 hours, work out for 1 hour, and then go back sitting. And we don't usually add in drive time, couch time, dinner time, and whatnot, amount of hours that we're sitting. Yeah, but those are all real things. So are we active enough? Are we literally taking care of our muscles? There's also some really interesting data out right now, and we'll see where it goes. But right now, there's a lot of science pointing to the fact that our muscles, our musculoskeletal system is actually part of our endocrine system. And when you use your muscles and you use your body physically, and I don't mean just in the weight room, I literally mean like doing things. If you're using your body physically and you're getting stronger, you have a demand on your muscles, that you are actually releasing these things called mitokines. And these are different types of hormones. And I think that we're going to hear a lot about these in the next couple of years. And nonetheless, they're telling your brain, hey, we need more hormones. So with that being said, ask yourself, are you being more active right now than you were a year ago? And here's the beauty. This is why it's so simple, that if the answer is no, you could stand up right now while you're listening to this and start doing some air squats. You could do some lunges. You could do some jumping jacks. You can run in place. You can go for a walk when this is done. That's how easy we can break the ice and get some momentum going. And then, so here's the nuances. Here's the challenges where people get, and I do understand this. Here's the challenge when sometimes people say it's confusing to me. They'll say, well, Doc, I just listened to this podcast and they said, walking's not enough. But here's what I know. If you're not walking and you start walking, it's better than not walking.
Heck yeah.
Amen, right? So
Yes.
wherever we are, and that's why the measuring stick is individual and it's relative to ourselves. Are you getting, and the idea is better with how you move, how you eat, and how you think. And now, again, health is simple. I probably should have started with this kind of statement. The reason I know it's simple is that every single cell in the human body, all day long, it is trying to protect itself and trying to heal itself. All day, every day, since the day that you were born, it is trying to protect you and is trying to repair you and is trying to grow you into a better version of you. We literally have 2 million cells being produced every single second, and every one of those cells is on your side. What you do with those cells or how you make those cells, that is where things can get a little bit tricky. And that moves us into, again, not only just how we move, but also how we eat.
Bart, so while we're on the topic of movement, I wonder if I could ask you, are there ways in which you like to incorporate movement into your life?
Of course there are. So I have my favorite ways, and I have ways also that might not be my favorite thing to do.
Nice.
And it's interesting, but I do them because of the outcome. So for example, many of you here have heard kind of my story. My favorite thing to do is my martial arts, mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, all of those fun things. And yes, it beats my body up. And that's actually the problem, that it beats my body up. So as a result of it, I incorporate a lot of yoga so my body can better handle those different things. And here's the other thing about exercise and working out. It is hard, period. It is hard. It's not designed to be easy. And if you're not doing something physically hard, you're not gaining. Unfortunately, there's a very good likelihood that you're actually losing and you won't become stronger this year. I'm not telling anyone to go out there and beat their bodies up, like I like to on occasion. I also am very kind to my body. So there's a lot. I dive into my sleep. I take, very good care when it comes to eating and my nutrients and my supplements and all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm not telling anyone to put their body at risk or in danger. Yet I will tell you, you're going to have to do things that are very uncomfortable in order for you to continue to grow and be stronger. The beauty is, as you do those very things, they don't feel that uncomfortable anymore. Are they uncomfortable? Yes. There's a reason we call it working out, right? Like it's work. And if you don't have anything right now that is uncomfortable that you're doing physically with your body, then you know where to start. There's something you could do. Literally, hey, listen, start doing air squats until you can't move your legs. So wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you just run a half marathon?
It is true. I did.
It is true. All right. You did that kind of secretly and silently, which is beautiful. I love it. And was it easy?
No.
No. Was it easy anytime you had to put on your running shoes and go out and practice for that race?
There were a lot of other things that I could have chosen to do instead.
And would have wanted to do, would have been a lot easier, a lot more comfortable, correct?
Yes, familiar, comfortable, easy to breeze into, correct.
All right, let's just take one of them. Let's just say one of them would be just easier today to sit around, hang out with your dog and read a book. Let's just say
I'd
that's
love to do that. Yeah, that's great.
but the feeling that you get, the sense of accomplishment, the sense of passion or pride or just respect that you give back to yourself by getting through an accomplishment like that, regardless of the score, regardless of the time. I guess it's not a score in running, but regardless, is there anything that could feel as good as it does to know that you crossed that finish line?
There is something very unique about a finish line moment that I have yet to find a parallel to really elsewhere at all.
Okay. And I agree. And there's so many opportunities. So listen, everyone, and great job, and congratulations. I absolutely
Thank you. So kind.
I love when I watch and hear people do things like that are just, and I'll say it's almost kind of out of the blue. Like they somehow found this little place within their soul to challenge themselves. And folks, any one of us can do this in any one of these topics, whether it be how you move, how you eat, and how you think. Movement, there's so many different things we can do. You can do push-up challenges, you can do a walking challenge, you can do a running challenge, you can just say you're going to get stronger, you can do hang on a bar challenge, all things like that. The next thing I want to kind of walk into is, well, let me go back a little bit. So when it comes to the movement, it is how you move, and not only just how you move, but your range of motion. And therefore, that's where I bring in so much yoga into my life. I would have never chosen to be a yogi. Like my history is I'm a rugby player and martial arts. So I have kind of like this tough guy ego that goes with it. The idea of literally diving myself into the first thing I do every morning is yoga. And for everything. Well, first thing I do is I meditate. Imagine that. I sit down in silence for 3 minutes. I do gratitude meditation. And then I start my yoga practice before I do anything. Do I love those actions? I don't know that I do, but I love the outcome.
Yes.
I absolutely love the outcome. I love the outcome. And attaching ourselves to the outcome and understanding that we have to get a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning to get there is almost a requirement moving forward. So when we think about how you move, think about the 3 categories. Are you stronger this year? Do you have better range of motion? And I'll give one real simple here. I'll try to verbally bring you through in case you're not watching this live. Let's say you take your left hand and put it behind your back. So the back of your fingers are going directly up your spine. And then you take your other hand, you stick it straight up in the air, behind your head, your palm goes right behind your bed, and you're going to try to connect your fingers behind your back. That's a simple range of motion right there. And then go ahead and do it on the other side as well and see if you can connect those. That is one of the ranges of motion for our shoulder health that's really tough for a lot of people. And one of the things I say, if you work on it this year, next year, you'll be able to do this. I promise you'll be able to do it within a month, no matter how sick it is. But your range of motion, your strength, and your endurance. The endurance part is probably the part I think most people have challenges with. there's not a lot of opportunities to do things for long periods of time. So for some of you that follow me on social medias, I posted this week my little farm update. And I get a lot of questions about people. Why they ask me, Doc, why do you do all that different work on the farm? Why do I, change the waters and clean the coop and do all this stuff and weed the garden and all this stuff? And I have other people that help me out. Yet one of the reasons I do it is because I still want to be able to test my body to see if I have the endurance, quite frankly, to do something for 4, 6, 8 hours, just like when we did when we were young. So giving yourself an opportunity to go for a 2-hour hike, 4-hour hike, 2-hour bike ride, 3-hour bike ride, or something, to testing our endurance is also going to be part of how you move. All right, I want to shift gears so we don't get into too late tonight. Let's shift gears into the eating part. So how we move, how we eat, and how we think. And this part, I think, is the biggest challenge for most people. I take that back. I know this is the biggest challenge, hands down. I've been doing this long enough, 30 years, and I recognize that our relationship with food is probably not awesome. And I don't blame it on the individual. I think the individual has a tremendous amount of responsibility here, but I also think we're up against a lot. We have marketing companies and we have chemical companies that are trying to manipulate how we think and how we evolve ourselves around food. We want us to be addicted to foods instead of eating for nutrition. And there's a lot of truth to that. They are in the business of selling us more and more food. So they want us to eat more than we're supposed to. They're not in the health industry. So I do believe that is part of it. But I also believe that we have a lot of control over what happens here. Yet this is where we're going to need to really hunker down. This is a situation where I'm going to simplify this. If you've been here with me before, you know that there's a very specific diet that I believe is good for all humans. It is the single best diet for all human beings. I'm going to rip it off real quickly here. It's what I call God's garden, meaning this: if it comes from a root, a plant, a tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea, we're designed to eat it. If it doesn't come from those things, don't put it in your body. To make that even simpler. So if you're listening to me saying, how am I healthy? Remember, let's go back to that question. Am I healthy? And you might say yes, but now you got to ask yourself, am I healthy when it comes to my eating? How much of my food comes from a root, a plant, a tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea? That's where we have to start being honest with ourselves. If we have these expectations to be awesome human beings, and that should be the expectation. The human body, we were designed in perfection. Our bodies are healing machines. All they want us to do is to continue to do things and feed the body well. So if you're doing that, you're going to have the best opportunity to optimize your life, optimize your recoveries, your healing, all the above. Ultimately, another name for the diet you should be on is a no crap diet. That's a simple way of saying it. No more crap in the body. I've danced around how gentle or how strong to be in this conversation. Yet because it's our 200th episode, and I'm just kind of keeping it real here with everyone, I'll tell you this. The best version of you sits on the other side of that bridge. And the other side, meaning the side you're on now that you do pretty good with. When you think about your diet, like, yeah, I eat mostly good food. Last night I had some salad and maybe had, grass-fed chicken or organic chicken. I do pretty good. And then you kind of forget the fact that you also sucked back 2 glasses of wine, and earlier that day you had something from a package or whatever, right? Or maybe you went to Starbucks and had some processed coffee and all those different things that can take place. I'm not busting on any particular company. But the version of you that is the absolute best version of you is on the other side of the bridge. Now, on the other side of that bridge, it means you have to cross the bridge. And it's going to be uncomfortable because you don't know what's on the other side. But the only time that you're really going to make sustainable changes, where you really have momentum, is when you get to the other side and you get to live it for a moment. And I will tell you, through my journey of health and watching so many, literally tens of thousands of people helping and sharing their journeys, it is when you have that journey to the other side of the bridge. So you're on this bridge, you're not sure which way to go, and you run back to your side. Well, it's more comfortable the way that I eat, the way more comfortable how the foods that I have, or it got a little confusing. When you get to the other side, what does that really look like? The other side of the bridge means maybe you did a fast, maybe you did a carnivore challenge, maybe you did something, but you're definitely on a no crap diet for an extended period of time. And there's that funny word again, time. That you do it for a period of time, then you get to experience how you feel and how your body operates when you don't have any crap in your body. Here's what I know. Everyone feels better. Everyone does. You think better, you start to sleep a little better, you start to eliminate your bowels a little bit better, you start to move a little better, you start to think a little better, your eyes look better, your chi starts to come back. All of these things start to happen. Sometimes we get lost. And we go, well, I didn't lose enough weight. Well, that we were talking about getting the human body to function better. The weight will come. If it's supposed to come off, it's going to come off. But you're going to need to give it time on the other side of the bridge. And I also think we're going to have to go over many bridges. We're going to get to the other side and be like, oh, well, this is pretty good. And there's another bridge. I don't know what's on the other side of that one. So when it comes to the eating part, if we're still putting crap in our body, these things will add up cumulatively. Today, I could have used this as another clinical insight. A gentleman said, "Man, getting old sucks." Do you know how many times I hear that? And I wrestle with it because I never want to be rude, but I say, listen, it's not about getting old, because I tell you what, my life at 42 and 54 are totally different. When I was 42, I would have told you that being 42 sucked. At 54, I'm very grateful for the fact that I've been able to cross enough bridges, have enough experience, enough failures, quite frankly, to recognize that if you do a lot of good things for long periods of time, consistently, we'll talk about how we're going to get there in a moment when we start talking about the thinking part. We do this consistently. I think you'll experience what myself and probably millions of other people are doing that are on this journey. They can actually get better with age, because you get a little smarter and you get a little more creative on how we can go about this. So when it comes to the eating, root, plant, tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea, if you're eating the other things that don't belong in the human body, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. And I'm not saying you're not going to be an awesome human being. I'm saying the best version of you is going to be on the other side of that bridge where you're clean living. Interesting thing where I'll share this. A lot of times people are striving to find a little bit more energy in their life. And that's an interesting thing. The reason it's interesting is that our creators are so good at making our human body. They give us 30 trillion cells. Roughly everyone has 30 trillion cells. And in those 30 trillion cells is something called your mitochondria. That is the powerhouse of the cell. Those powerhouses of the cell, what's unique about them, they have this thing called the Krebs cycle. And that Krebs cycle takes all the nutrients that we eat. Well, it takes everything else as well. It takes all the other things that, even if they're not nutrients, they take all the chemicals in, and the glyphosate that's sprayed on the gluten that's in the processed wheat and the cookies and all that stuff. It all comes in, it gets into the cell. And if things aren't blocked up and they're not clogged up and everything's working good, and you give all the nutrients that your body needs, you kick out something called ATP. That's energy. So back this up. You have 30 trillion cells. Every single cell in the human body can make energy. There's absolutely no reason that any human should run out of sleep as long as they're getting, run out of energy as long as they're getting sleep.
Cool.
Yeah, super cool. But how does that get interfered with? Unfortunately, we become deficient in nutrients. We become toxic because we put bad things in. So along the way, there are things, to keep this simple, there are things that could massively help us along the way. And this, when it comes to like supplements or vitamins or herbs, and listen, I love vitamins, herbs, and supplements because I think they give us an opportunity to level up. But I also kind of have this on the other side of me. Sometimes I don't like them because I also think that sometimes they can make things confusing. I think people have oversold them in the promises that they do provide. Ultimately, they're giving the body an opportunity to be the better version of itself. So with that being said, I'm going to give a couple tonight that I think they're not super sexy, but I tell you, they're the powerful ones. Number one, I would say this. If we all became better at digesting our food and protecting our guts, it'd be amazing. One of my absolute favorites is a digestive enzyme called Zypan. At this point in my career, in literally my speaking tours, gut health, flying around the country, teaching other docs about health, about gut health, how to protect the gut, how to repair it. Number one thing, digestive enzyme. And really, what does that do for us? There's one we use called Zypan. There's a lot of good ones out there. I absolutely love this one because it's a combination of hydrochloric acid and something called pepsin. Pepsin is the type of enzyme that helps us break down proteins. We've got to get better at breaking down protein. If we get better at breaking down proteins and we're using our physical body, you get to put on lean muscle mass. And that is what is muscle is the organ of longevity. So Zypan is one of my absolute favorite. Typically, I just have people take a couple before they eat. Very, very simple, very easy. Are there 1,000 other supplements out there that I think are probably good? Yes. But if there's a fundamental that I would say probably good for everyone, that'd be number one. Number two, so often when it comes to energy, we're talking about diet here. We're talking about what happens if we become toxic, folks. And every time you put something in your body, every time, every single reason. Doesn't matter if it was Johnny's birthday or Susie's birthday or someone's having a baby or someone's getting married. Doesn't matter the reason we put them in there. If we're putting toxins into our body, processed foods, processed seed oils, glyphosate, all these non-organic foods, anything that's not organic is coming with a chemical. All these things, even when they say, well, there's like the list of dirty dozen and the ones that are fine. No, they still have chemicals on it. That's what we want to be mindful of. Anyways, if we put those in, we become deficient in nutrients. And probably across the board, if someone's asked me, what do I think is probably the single most deficient nutrient across the board for every single one in our country, I would say magnesium. If I had my druthers, I'd put everyone on a digestive enzyme, give them a little magnesium at night. Here's the beauty about magnesium. Helps you sleep, helps you poop. And unfortunately, 50% of our country have issues with both of those. That's a problem. I don't care if you're 2 days old or 102 years old. We should be able to sleep. We should be able to poop very, very easily. This should happen naturally and easy for us. The beauty about magnesium is this. So when it comes to our body tightness and kind of muscle relaxation, muscle contraction, calcium is what helps our muscles fire. They help them contract. Magnesium is what unwinds the body. It is a yin mineral, so it relaxes. Calcium contracts, magnesium relaxes. So in the event you become deficient in magnesium, unfortunately, we start to get tighter. And as chiropractors or anyone who is out there listening, that you put hands on other people, you can almost feel people that, I know it sounds crazy, but feel people who are deficient in magnesium because they're always tight. Their fascia is always tight. So magnesium, there's one that we use. I tend to, there's a lot of good magnesiums out there. I tend to like this one the best simply because it's so predictable in its effect on your stomach, on your tissue, and also your effect on how it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's called magnesium lactate. And because we are all different sizes, you almost have to determine your dosing. So this is how it works. You start with 3 capsules, and that's about 50% of the recommended dose. For a lot of you just 3 capsules a night, you're going to sleep better immediately. If I was to question, I can't see anyone, but if I was to question, or if I ask an audience, how many have sleeping issues? Say have them raise their hand. My next comment will be, how many of you have sleeping issues? You're waking between 1 and 3, 1 and 4 a.m. All their hands go up. And that's telling me that there's a deficiency typically in magnesium. Your liver needs magnesium. Magnesium is required for about 200-300 different mechanisms in the human body in order to enzymatic reactions. And if you become deficient in a lot of those reactions will not be taking place. One of them would be keeping you asleep at night. So a little magnesium during the night, about 3 capsules. As you go, you can increase your dose. And you increase to 4, then you do that for a couple of days into 5. And the moment you start to get really loose stool, you back off a capsule, and that's your dosing. And that's what we call the magnesium tolerance test.
I think magnesium lactate is a gateway supplement for many of us, Bart, because the immediacy of the results in which you are sleeping better and then like morning elimination, it's such a cool one to have on hand all the time.
It is. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the ones I just feel comfortable that even if I don't know people, I would say, yeah, you get 99% chance you're going to benefit from taking some magnesium at night. And again, some people take it during the day. I typically haven't taken it at night. That's when it's most utilized in the body. So those are 2 supplements that I recommend to help, again, makes this thing easier. And part of that is because we have 2 big challenges when it comes to nutrition. It is we become toxic. Those are the bad guys coming in, and we become deficient. And the deficiencies sometimes happen. For example, that's why I recommend digestive enzyme. You might be eating good and still deficient in your nutrients because you're not breaking your foods down. So that's really what the digestive enzyme does. And especially when it comes to animal proteins and things like amino acids or collagen, those are often the harder things to break down. So if you give yourself a little support there, what you typically find is that you become a little satiated better. So sometimes you don't need as much food, which is kind of cool. And you get those nutrients back up into your body a little bit better by breaking them down properly. So remember, things are supposed to be broken down in the stomach and then moved on. And the magnesium, of course, I think all of us to benefit if we sleep a little bit better at night. So, and especially if you're waking up between 1 and 3, 1 and 4 a.m. All right. So I want to throw one other in there because if you've listened to enough of our podcast, you hear me talk about cod liver oil. So let me at least throw that in there. I would put that in the same category as a deficiency for pretty much everybody. And how do I know that? Because we run a lot of labs. And one of the labs that we run consistently at almost everyone is what's called an omega-3 panel. And this is important, folks. So a little bit more than tonight's show, but I'm going to throw this out there anyways, even if we end up running late. This is really important. Omega-3s are essentially, those are the good fats. Those are the things, especially that you get like from a fish oil, you get from your grass-fed burgers, or you get from an egg, or you get from sardines, you get from, it's not a ton of it in chicken. There's a little bit there, but really your more ruminants, like I don't know if you eat deer or something like that, or elk, or your fatty fish like salmon or trout or mackerel or sardines, all of those guys have very good levels of omega-3s. And these omega-3s are so important for our overall health. 50% of your brain is made up of fat. Half of that is an omega-3. So we know that these things are really important for us, but really where it shows up clinically. So everyone listening to this, you've heard that. It's so odd that so many people, even here in the state of Florida, are deficient in vitamin D. And this is one of the reasons I started running this panel. It didn't make sense for me. People are outside in the sun. So to get to the root causes, I started thinking just as a clinician, why are so many people that are here in Florida that are exposed to sun, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, why are they deficient in vitamin D? And I had to back up and say, well, what's the mechanism about how we make vitamin D? And vitamin D is typically made, it starts in the skin. The sun hits the skin, but we have this layer of skin. Underneath it, we have what's called fatty acids. Folks, those are your fish oils. Those are your omega-3s. And if we do not have those, we start to become depleted. And once the sun hits the skin and there's no suntan lotion, none of that junk is on there. Once it activates the cholesterols, yes, those cholesterols, which are your omega-3s here, and they start to help your body make vitamin D. So now when I see someone that has low vitamin D, it's almost a guarantee that we go to cod liver oil. Now, why cod liver oil? Are there a lot of other good fish oils? Absolutely. And I use several others. But in the event that I see vitamin D low, one of my favorites is to go to cod liver oil because it is the only oil that has naturally occurring vitamin A and D in it. And that is one of the reasons. So we're really looking at an omega-3 product that allows you to, which is also supporting your immune system with vitamin A and vitamin D. So it's really a complete one. Are there other oils that have higher levels of like DHA and EPA? Sure. But do they have vitamin A and D? No. So that is one of the best ones. That little triad right there. And again, they're not super sexy. They're not going to make you bounce off a wall with energy. They're not going to grow 12, inches of muscles on your body and stuff like that. Yeah, at the same time, they kind of are. So if you sleep better, you're going to have all those things. So Zypan is a digestive enzyme. So you break your food down better. Magnesium, because it's hands down, probably the most significant deficient mineral of all humans. And then because of our toxicities and because our inability to break food or bring the good foods in, that omega-3 could be as important as anything. And another quick note here, when it comes to those omega-3s, those neurodegenerative diseases, ones that no one wants to talk about, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, once they're engaged and you get that diagnosis, I don't know, even with today's brilliant men and women and scientists and all the things that we have, that we can do anything to really, quite frankly, to stop them. We can slow them down a little bit, but there's nothing to stop them. But we do know how to prevent them. And the number one way to prevent them is with an adequate level of these omega-3s. So that is something that we test regularly. So if anyone's interested, you just want to know, here's how simple it is. You do the test. There's a finger prick test. You can prick your finger, send it in, and get it back in about a week. You find out what your level's at. And then if your level's low, you take more. That's it. And part of the challenge is most people don't have the digestive enzymes to be able to break those foods down. So making sure we get the right foods in, God's garden, we get the good stuff coming in, we're ability to break it down, ability to assimilate and bring it up into the body. That's the key here. So I want to shift this. I'm going to slide. Do you have a question for me, Whit?
I've actually got a couple questions before we maybe slide into mindset. You think we have a minute for 2 questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing. So the first one is this part. Let's say that you have had some supplements in your life in the past, and maybe they kind of like fell out of favor. Is it too late to start back?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love that question for many reasons. No, you can always bring them back. And same thing, you can bring back your exercise, you can bring back your mindset, you can bring back your good diet. We're too mean on ourselves, quite frankly. often I'll be like, ah, I used to be good at that. And well, go get good at it again. That's it. That's it. Just go do it again. That's it. And so, yes, you can bring them back. And if you just wanted to start, maybe you got to the point where you overwhelmed yourself. I don't know, you took too many, or every time you heard a TikTok, something, whatever, you added one more to your bucket, whatever. Start small, start simple. Get your diet right. Make sure you can digest your food. Make sure you're sleeping at night. Make sure you got good enough oils. Protect your brain, protect your body. Start there.
Bart, is it ever too early in our lives to start the no crap diet?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. I could do an entire show dedicated to just my 70 plus people. Here's the reality. And I want everyone to hear this. And I don't want anyone to be intimidated ever by any health, whether it be you see things on Facebook or whatnot, or you even listen to a podcast like this. All you need to know is wherever you were, wherever you are now, and you start doing something better, you're going to get a better result than you had yesterday. That's it. And that's the journey. And if you give yourself permission to do that, and you're not expecting to maybe roll back the clock 50 years, like I know I'm not going to be 35 again, but I certainly can play and act as if I can be the absolute best version of 54 that's humanly possible. And here's the other thing about humans. I don't know that we even have a freaking clue on what our potential is. We see people every day just doing things that they never did before. They run a 4-minute mile, they're running a 3-minute mile. Oh, wait a minute, people are running 100 miles now. Well, humans can't do that. Wait a minute, people are fasting for a week at a time. So it's just all these things that people are doing. They're just breaking up the rules that we all just kind of fell into over all these years. And I think that an age is one of those rules. So throw that rule out, allow yourself to just continuously ask him, am I participating in my health today? Am I optimizing how I move, how I eat, and how I think?
Beautiful, Bart. So for movement, we've got this idea of keeping an eye on our range of motion, a bit of strength and endurance, and just awareness of where we're at, how that's happening. Eating, we've got our God's garden diet, no crap, letting the good stuff come in. Do we want to talk a little bit about mindset tonight?
Yeah, we do. We have to. We have to, because it doesn't work without the mind. And the mind, I don't think it's the hardest part. There are very, very key components to make this successful. I think first, and these are two kind of entirely different categories. I think there's two parts that I want to talk about. One, I think we have to have a better conversation with ourselves, and we have to be willing to ask ourselves better questions. And if you just get this part, the direction of your health, the bridges that you will cross as a result of asking this question will be entirely different. And you are going to end up in an entirely different direction and in a place in your life, in your health, and your vitality. It really goes like this. Never ask the question again. Never ask this question. And this question is this. Never ask this one. Only going to say it one time. No, I might say it again. But never ask, what's wrong with me? It's not the right question. It's a poor question. You can only get a bad answer there. Rather, ask yourself this. What is my body asking me for? There's a little bit of love there. There's a little bit of harmony, and there's an opportunity for you to be able to listen to your body. The moment you're asking what's wrong with me, there implies some level of blame, and you're going to separate you from your body, and you are not able to do that. So let's just say, well, my shoulder is broken or it doesn't work. Now are you separating between you and your shoulder? Trust me when I say this. This has been one of the more challenging parts of as a career. So I'm a chiropractor, right? That's my label. And over the years, I realized, man, that might be my label as my license. But the biggest challenge I have as a practitioner is the mindset part of what if I could get people to talk to themselves differently and get them to ask the questions that have the potential for good answers. If you ask a bad question, you're going to get a bad answer. So what's wrong with me? I know what people are going to say. Well, I just want to know what's wrong with me. Therefore, I can do something. No, that's not why you want something wrong with you. You want to know if there's a magic cure pill out there, because that's the preparation that we've had our entire lives. We've been told if there's something wrong, then someone else can fix that. And it usually looks like a pill, lotion, potion, or surgery. So let's lean away from that. And rather, because you're going to get to a better conclusion here, start asking the first part of the thinking part goes like this. What does my body ask? I don't care if you got a damn headache. I promise you, you're not lacking 2 Tylenol. I promise you, you're not lacking a surgery for your brain or something like that. But when you start to ask yourself things like, you got a headache or a gut ache, you ask, what is my body asking me for? What is my body trying to tell me? The answers are there. we have to practice asking this question to be able to listen to the answers. More often than not, 90% of the answers are going to be eat good, go to bed. Eat good, go to bed. Most of the time, that's how you're going to heal, because we heal when we sleep and we need nutrients to help the body heal. So that always should be part of the answer. Yet I know, because I've been in healthcare for over 30 years, that is rarely the medicine that is given, even though I know that's always how the body heals. So eat good, go to bed. Eat good, go to bed. All right. So that's part one. The second part of this is a little bit more practical. This is something that you got to think about and kind of open up your eyes a little bit. And it's going to come down to two things: your associations and your accountability. So how we think is going to have a lot to do with who we hang around with, who is guiding our thoughts, who are we familiarizing ourselves with, who are we hanging out and sharing ideas and concepts. And remember, like. So we're probably hanging around with people who think and act the way that we do. Another way of saying that is you think and act the way the people that you're hanging out with. So if you're hanging around with people that don't necessarily looking to cross bridges, that they don't do that, it's not even in their world, it's not even their realm, then you're probably not going to cross those bridges. And every one of us needs to be constantly crossing bridges as we go through this journey called life. So think about the associations that you have. It does not mean you have to start labeling people as you're bad, you're good, you're bad, you're good. Yet recognizing the people that you have around you, especially on your health journey. And that's number one. And number two might be the most important part. I don't know that much of what we don't share here in Health Made Simple show, I don't know that this information is very groundbreaking to people. I don't know that most people don't already know what I'm sharing. I think I'm reiterating it and confirming it and kind of repositioning it for them. Yet most importantly, what people do need, it might be a little bit more information, but they need accountability, hands down. Very difficult to move forward by ourselves. It's challenging, right? We got this thing we call our brain, right? And we get a lot of stressors out there. We have a hard enough time living up to our own expectations, never mind the expectations of all these other people around us. So you might be raising a family, you might have work challenges, you might have all the above. So there's a lot of stress that takes place. And when we're under stress, often our brains aren't thinking the best versions. We're not thinking the best way. Sometimes we're a little bit hard on ourselves. But the beauty is, if we have some accountability, if you have someone in your life that helps you, holds you accountable for how you move, for how you eat, and how you think. So everyone that comes into my office, I automatically, whether it really works this way or not, but I assume you're giving me full accountability to talk to you about how you move, eat, and think. And I love that part of it. I love that part of being a practitioner. I love that responsibility that I get to have. And I think a lot of the people that come in, they know what I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them about how they're moving, taking better care of themselves. Are they eating clean? I'm going to ask them. And I will never judge them for what they say. But just the fact that I'm asking them, I know they're leveling up. And that's the cool part. So let's just say that you have someone in your life. Maybe it's your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your whatever it may be. And they're on your side and they're saying, whoa, Whit, do you think you need another bag of chips tonight? And I'm just kind of making that up, right? Or whatever it may be. If we have accountability, it's fantastic. And that is where our tribes are so important. And that's really what it comes down to. I think when the way that we think about life, about what we're going to do next, about challenging ourselves. You mentioned earlier about we live in an amazing community. We do. I love our community.
Me too.
Yeah. I drive out of my driveway. I get about 11 miles. I don't know, about 7 miles to go down to my office. And every morning I'm thinking, man, I should be on a damn bike. Reason I think that, because everyone I'm passing is on a bike. And I'm in my big old truck, right? So I'm thinking, man, these people got it right. And I know some of them, they drive their bikes, they ride their bikes to the clinic, or they ride their bike to yoga, they ride their bike over to Prema. I'm thinking, man, that's the right community living. That's the right tribe, because everyone's helping each other elevate, even though they might not know it. So accountability is huge. So think about the people that are close to you in your lives. And listen, I also think, and I'm going to push the envelope a little bit here, I think it's also, you have a conversation with your spouse is not on board with you eating good. I think you just need to position it different. instead of saying, well, I want to eat good because I want to lose a couple of weight. Well, they don't give crap if you lose pounds. I swear, I promise you don't, because your spouse always thinks you're wonderful just the way you are. They don't need you to lose any weight. But if you position it differently, say, I want to eat better because I want to be the best version of myself. They're not going to argue with that. No. You just say, I want to be the best version of myself. And you might throw in there, so I can be the best husband, best wife, best mom, best dad. And you start to kind of position these again. And that's where the thinking comes in. Do I think that we're all under stress? And the challenge is under stress. It immediately evaporates that kind of thinking. Then we go into protective mode. So it immediately goes away. And with stress often comes outward energy, meaning we start to blame a little bit. We start to pick apart things. We start to get really bad, really tough on ourselves. We start to kind of lower our expectations of ourselves, what we're capable of, and all the things. And that's why it's so wonderful to have good people. Like our environment, I like to think that our environment that we work in is fantastic. We know if someone shows up and they might not be having the best day. And that's what the association does for you. It just elevates it. It's always bringing people to the better version of themselves. So I literally pray and hope that everyone listening to this is able to observe their own and see. And here's two things I'm going to say to this. You don't have to wait for them to elevate. You can elevate and bring them with you. And that's real, because that can happen. So the association and the accountability go hand in hand when it comes to our thought process here. I'm going to encourage people to get really, really good at asking yourself, what is my body looking for? And I promise you, almost all of the answers are going to go back to two things: eat better, get some sleep. With that being said, stress is a real deal. And stress probably does not get the credit. I don't know if that's the right word, but nonetheless, it probably doesn't get the acknowledgement of the impact that it has on the human body. When we talk about it in the office with people, I say it has the capability and the potential to do anything and everything destructive to the human body and mind. So are there tools we can use? Absolutely. Probably the simplest, best, if you're under stress, which is kind of like maybe like a rhetorical kind of conversation of, yes, we're all under stress, yet nonetheless, there's an herb called ashwagandha. Literally, I think of it as Disney in the bottle. So ashwagandha is an herb that phenomenal to take in the morning. Why in the morning? It helps you balance out what's called cortisol levels. Cortisol is your stress hormone. And if you're using too much cortisol, yes, then we've done an entire podcast on how stress provokes this cortisol, tells the liver to release sugar, and next thing you know, you got insulin, and next thing you know, you haven't eaten a damn thing, and you actually could be storing fat into your fat cells, and you haven't eaten a damn thing just because you have stress. And that's real. That's where we start to see the weight gain, like around the hips. We'll call it stress weight, like belly button, upper thigh. We'll see it there. So ashwagandha has the ability to help us balance your cortisol levels in the morning. It's phenomenal. Maybe one of its aces in the hole is its effect on the thyroid gland and also testosterone production. So when it comes to the hormones and just your body feeling better, especially if you're under any type of stress, and it could be good stress. Maybe you're just a go-getter. Maybe you're just like ripping it every single day. And as a result of it, your body's stuck in this sympathetic dominant state. Ashwagandha is probably, and there's a lot of good herbs out there. So many of you know that I blend herbs. You come in our office, you'll see we use all kinds of herbs and we absolutely love it. They're very, very medicinal. If there was one, I think that would probably, well, for example, it's in my morning protocol that I use every single day. And why? Because I don't want to run high in cortisol in the morning. If that's going to happen, that's how eventually you get yourself fatigued. That's where when that starts to go down low, you start to need that second and third cup of coffee during the day, et cetera. Maybe you start to gain weight, or maybe your body starts to get more inflamed because cortisol will be pro-inflammatory, et cetera. So ashwagandha, we use one called ashwagandha forte. You might just take one in the morning. You might take two. You could use it again before bed because it is an adaptogen herb. Typically, I just have people take it in the morning to help regulate the hormones. We have a little bit. I guess we can call it almost. We have a little bit of a hormone crisis in our country. And again, it's not our hormones that have decided to go bad. It is more our lifestyle, how we're moving, how we're eating, and how we're thinking.
It's a beautiful thing to recognize the elements that affect us. And friends, by chance, if you would like to pick up any of these supplements, we're calling them the Daily Magic. These four, the cod liver oil, magnesium lactate, Zypan, and ashwagandha forte. I'm just going to drop a link into the chat by chance. Daily Magic is there, dosing and everything.
You know, with that little daily magic right there, I think that was other than the ashwagandha, I didn't start getting into herbs a little bit later into my kind of career into nutrition. But that those right there, if someone came in and said, this is what I do, and I'm eating pretty clean, I'm push the envelope. So like I eat clean, you're in good shape. You're in very good shape. Yeah. So that's a solid, very, very simple protocol. So we're about near time. Is that right?
Something like that.
Great. So I'm going to reverse this and just kind of do like a quick summary because I want to put it in this phrase. One, remember that your body is a self-healing machine. It's designed to be healthy, that we have every capability and every tool we need to be healthy. Our job, get out of the way. So health is simple, but do not confuse that with easy. I did not say it was easy. I said it's simple. Simple design because our bodies were designed just like a car. It's supposed to roll, right? It's like easy to make it go down the road, but it's complex, the ability to drive it properly. So same thing with our body. To drive our body properly, it's a little bit more complex. We have to do some good things with it. So the simplest way to start asking your question today, when it comes to movement, are you doing a good job? Are you doing a better job today than you were yesterday? Or maybe just you go year to year. Am I doing a better job? If not, guess what? Guess when the perfect time to take action is? And the answer is right freaking now. Like literally stand up, do some squats. I would love if someone sends a message and says, I was doing some air squats while you were talking there. Not to guilt you into that, but nonetheless, I'd love to hear that. Anyways, and then when it comes to eating, it would be it'd be very easy for me to just try to win a lot of friends and be very likable and tell you that you can sidestep eating clean. You can keep drinking your glass of wine every night and you're going to be the best version of yourself, but you're not. It's not going to work that way. I'm not saying you can never. I'm not saying that, but on a daily basis, who you are, how we go about putting food and nutrition into the body. If you're accumulating a bunch of junk on a daily basis, not so many good things are going to happen. And as you go down the road, does it get harder as we get older? It's not the age that makes it harder, but it is the accumulation of junk that we have. But here's the good thing too. With all the information like I'm sharing tonight and so much more that could go with this, you start turning the direction, you start crossing a couple bridges, and all of a sudden you could level up your health to a place that, quite frankly, many of you have never experienced before, which is pretty cool. So there's moving, eating, sure it's God's garden, last and not least, thinking. Be kind to yourself. Have to be nicer to ourselves. We beat ourselves down. We're the worst on ourselves. You would never talk to someone else the way that you talk to yourself. I can almost promise you that. So let's start asking ourselves good questions. What's the question we'll never ask ourselves? I'm not even going to say it again. I'm not even going to say it again. But the question we will start asking ourselves is, what is my body asking me for? And if you start to do that and develop that relationship with your body, you start to learn how to communicate with your own body. You start to listen just a little bit better. And that will take some pauses. It'll take some time. It'll also take some bridges that you're going to have to cross because there's going to be a new relationship that one you might not even have right yet. And then, of course, last but not least, when it comes to your thinking, is your association, your tribe. And these are so important. I'm very grateful. I have amazing people in my life, and I have amazing people around me. And I will tell you, it is by design. It's absolutely by design that there's people around me that support me at my best and support me at my worst. So I appreciate all those people that are in my life right now. That's including you, Whit, and of course my wonderful wife and so many of our team members. I can't mention them all, but nonetheless, all of you, love you, appreciate you. And I'm going to extend that to all of you who are listening here tonight, who have shared your health with me over these years. So these last 4 years, especially on Health Made Podcast, if you've allowed me into your ear pods, into your speakers, into your car, into your bedroom, wherever it may be. I appreciate that trust, and I look forward to the opportunity to maybe we'll have our 300th show, and sometime soon you'll be there and joining us once again.
I hope that you all are here with us. And Bart, I'm going to take a minute or two of your time to give you some of your flowers. Here are some messages from your community. Eric says of what he has learned from you, the 5 things he must do every day, which is to eat right and sleep right and think right, and to move right and have an attitude of gratitude. From Dr. Bethany, she shares that Dr. Bart reminds us to keep us in tune with our body and our health issues as they arise. To her, this is invaluable.
Mhm.
Gigi says that Dr. B has sent her looking and investigating her health and treatment more thoughtfully. So awesome. Carrie says that Bart is the best teacher. Always learning so much from you. Get this, Jennifer has notes from episode number 1.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Whoa. Lisa says Dr. Bart has been teaching her wonderful and easy health habits since 2015. The health guru.
Mhm.
We have lots of people who have been doing lots of exercise the entire duration of this 200 episode. Cindy's been doing lunges and squats since you mentioned them. Jennifer's been doing air squats waiting for the show to begin. Carrie's got a sauna workout going this whole time, which is amazing. Our community is so phenomenal. After 9 years, you changed Carrie's life, and I am here as one representation of the giant team that you lead. Bart, you are an example of what it is to continually strive to become the best version of yourself, and we all benefit. We have seen you through different versions of moving around in ways that it worked out really well and then it didn't, and then making some shifts and comfortable and uncomfortable. Eating, oh my gosh, like how many fun things have we done together? The cleanses and the carnivores and the God's Garden and threading it all through. And mindset is really the super special one because each one of us continues to learn from you all the time. And that comes from you being open to new information. So thank you from your community. Thank you from your team, and congratulations on 200 episodes.
Wow. Well, certainly a big heartfelt thank you. Love all you guys. And this is going to motivate me to continue to do it even more. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Awesome. You guys have a lovely evening. Hope to see you back soon. Episode 300 just around the bend.
Nice.